Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact. We are all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic reversal. And welcome to it. Special Tuesday, Quarantine's edition of Protonic reversal. I'm not going to say the last Tuesday, but the last Tuesday as a regular thing. I have 1/3 of the awesome Martha's Vineyard Ferries with me. Elisha, welcome to the show, man. It's great. Yeah. I was just listening to the record earlier. It's pretty awesome. I'm just going to give you the same thing I've been asking anyone during COVID times. How did it feel releasing this during COVID, though?
I thought it was great. I mean, weird, because everything is weird during COVID, right? But to me, it felt like releasing a record. I don't know. I mean, there's obviously we're not touring,
right?
but other than that, I think there's like a real need for music and for entertainment and everything right now, more than almost ever, with the fact that there's no shows and there's no anything else. So, I thought it was great. It was going to come out, or we had been talking with a different label as COVID hit, and then they're like, we can't put it out because there won't be any touring, which we totally understood. And then we were super psyched that, that we got to put it out.
well, yeah, and it seems like it's hitting folks. And I think you hit on something interesting. That's almost like music. Like people are making an extra effort to put value into music right now, just because there's so much ambiguity, so much uncertainty, so much anxiety in the world that it's almost like people like are making. I am going to care more than maybe I normally.
Absolutely, and also like just for me personally, I feel like I've bought more music in the last 13 or 14 months, whatever it is, year.
Bank account agrees.
And because we're all on the computer a little bit more, and like I'm finding out about more music. I'm like, oh my god, look at this! Oh my god, look at this! Oh, this is out. I want to buy it. I want, I feel like that's certainly been the case for me.
There's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, and also like we thought about waiting, and we recorded the record a while ago, or at least the bulk of it, and we thought about waiting, but it's like, how long are you going to wait? When are you know what I mean? Let's just put it out. We can do another record and put that out when things are normal and we can tour and whatever.
Like there was that moment in like March or so. It's like, oh, well, I'm sure this will blow over in like 5 or 6 weeks, maybe at the outside.
No. I mean, people are like, stay home for 2 weeks, and then it's going to be.
Oh, it's going to be hard to stay home for a couple weeks.
Right, and then then it was it's a year later, and so I would rather just do it and move forward than wait for the ideal time, which is maybe never. Yeah. So you're getting it out there in the world, and again, a good response. And you're looking at it from the perspective of it's not like a make or break thing. I mean, you guys are all guys that have been around the block. You're geographically disparate, I think is the word. Is it disparate or disparate? Disparate. Disparate.
So even getting together to play it seems like that could be a bit of a challenge.
Well, yeah. I mean, Bob lives in Chicago, obviously. Chris lives in Cambridge, and I live here on Martha's Vineyard. And I mean, one good thing is that Bob is from the greater Boston area, and his family. He's from Waltham, Massachusetts, so his family is still there. So it's not like he's not in the area from time to time, and
sure,
and, a regular around here. I mean, Chris was living in Seattle for a few years of the band as well, and that was definitely, that's tri-coastal.
Yeah,
but yeah, we have to plan ahead,
Well, but the nice thing about your band is that it's sort of like it's everyone, since everyone has been in bands for a very long time and are doing this for the love of doing it and to kind of dig deeper into that creativity, that people are going to make the effort and be realistic about that too. It isn't going to be like anyone thinks that, you're going to be touring the world for like 9 months out of the year, even in non-COVID times or anything.
Oh, of course. No. I mean, we have jobs and I have kids and we're in other bands, nobody thinks that. And I wouldn't want to do that. I don't think Bob or Chris would. And I mean, we just can't either, I think it would be difficult, like if we were like a really new band just starting out, young kids, and it's like you want to go take on the world and you don't mind sleeping on a floor for a year, all those things. Like right now would suck, but for me, it's like it's sort of normal.
You're not the first person to say that, right? Like, so I talk to a lot of people in the show, and especially during quarantine times, and you're not the first person to, do it with a laugh and like kind of joking, but sort of like, oh, well, things really haven't changed that much. Like I didn't exactly like have an active nightlife before, like, because a lot of times it's people that focus on their art or have, other activities that are not like paint the town red necessarily, or like licking doorknobs at Hardee's or whatever people are up to.
I don't go out much. So like, obviously things are very different. I haven't seen my brother in over a year. You know what I mean? He lives in Boston. I usually see him all the time.
That's heavy.
Yeah, like and that's a minor inconvenience compared to what a lot of people are have lived with or are going through, or people who have been sick or have died. But in general, for me, it's been in a lot of ways I like a slower pace of life. So some things about it have been wonderful. I like my kids and my wife quite a bit. So
everyone likes each other. What a novel concept.
Yeah, no, and so it's nice that we, I'm stuck here with people that I really like spending time with.
Which world, sure, yeah. So I guess I kind of find that like process stories to be, kind of hit or miss, but I think it's interesting that you guys are geographically disparate, because like, how do you put the songs together? Is there any like demoing, like mailing stuff back and forth or anything, or is it all?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we'll definitely do. If I have a song, I'll record a voice memo of it or something and email it to those guys, and they'll do the same thing. Chris actually has written several of my favorite of his songs when we went to record the record.
Right. Yeah, totally. No, they're great. I mean, like it's
he literally like, oh, I've got to go write a song, and he'll go write the song, She's a Fucking Angel from Fucking Heaven.
Yeah.
I think he went upstairs at Bob's house and wrote that. It was like, all right, I got one.
Here's a timeless pop song, y'all. Sorry. Just had to get that out.
What's that?
I said, here's a timeless pop song. Sorry. Just had to get that out.
Yeah. And then there's other stuff that I feel like we'll labor on, or there'll be, we'll get together and rehearse, and we'll tape that and listen back. And then I'll sit in my basement trying to figure out guitar parts and stuff, so it goes both ways, from the incredibly quick to the long drawn out. And I think probably a lot of bands that are remote work that way.
Well, yeah, and it's easier now than it ever was, really, and that was the case before COVID, and it is still the case now. But I think it's now. I feel like this, if any stigma existed before that, I feel like that maybe that's faded a little bit, like as being like, oh, well, it's not real unless it's the same 3 or 4 people that get together in a room every Thursday or whatever. It's like,
yeah, the band I was in for a long time, Cahoots. I don't know if we ever lived right in the same spot. I mean, we were all in Massachusetts, but often some of the band would be in Western Mass or the Boston area. So we would send tapes and CDRs back and forth. I mean, that's just how we did it.
Is Cahoots done?
No, we've been we slowed way down.
Right.
I guess I would say we're not done. I mean, we did play a show in 2019, I think, or maybe we played 2 shows in 2019.
Right. Which is 2 more than most bands played in 2020. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't think we got anything done in 2020. No, we're definitely not done. But John and Sal actually live in Western Mass. Rob and I from Coots live here on the Vineyard, and we all would sort of like to do more, and we just don't.
So sometimes it's as easy as that. I mean,
yeah, and Sal's in other bands. Rob has another band. It's not. We will play some stuff again every time. We've had practices. We've in the summer, like John will come down. His family's from here, and Sal as well, and we'll get together in my basement and just rock out.
Yeah,
we like doing that. But
right.
As far as shows, I feel like we've played the last bunch of shows we played. It's like if someone asks us to play a show,
yeah,
you guys want to open for us? And they're like, oh sure, yeah, great, we'll go do it. Other than that, we don't do it.
You're not seeking out new things and to actively like, hey y'all, we're gonna go on a 6-week tour for some reason.
No. Let's do that.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point because I feel like a lot of times bands just get stuck telling the origin story over and over again. But well, first of all, I of course I know what the band name is, but could you tell maybe for the listeners that don't know what exactly Martha's Vineyard Ferries is all about?
Sure. Martha's Vineyard is an island off the coast of Massachusetts. It's where I am from. I was born here. I'm sitting here right now in my basement. It is a vacation destination 2.5, 3 months out of the year. It is a beautiful, quiet place the other 9 months of the year. It's a fairly large island. It's about 100 square miles. And I think it's about 7 miles off the coast. So to get here, you take a ferry boat. And you take the Martha's Vineyard Ferry. I mean, that's
an actual thing that you take from point A to point B to get to a location.
Yes, you take it from either Oak Bluffs or Vineyard Haven, which are 2 towns on the island, to Woods Hole, which is on Cape Cod. And that's the boat. You hop on it. It takes 45 minutes. You can drive your car onto it.
The reason why I ask is because for me, as like, yes, I live in the Midwest, but I'm a transplanted West Coaster. And even though I've toured considerably, like there's certain things that only if you kind of grow up in an area or like are from like a certain region or something.
Sure.
It almost seemed like I was like, oh, that's an interesting collection of words. Like, hey, what's 3 cool words? Martha's Vineyard Ferries. Done. Cool. That's the band name. And I'm like, oh, that's funny that they came up with that. And then I was like, oh, there's an actual ferry? Because I knew Martha's Vineyard, or like at least I knew the name.
Sure, everyone knows the name. I mean, it's the Clintons, Bill Clinton, and the Obamas both vacationed here. And there's a lot of celebrities that come in the summer and stuff. So it's it was like, oh, this that's funny. They're naming themselves after like something that's like some upper class destination, and it's like, oh no, it's actually a real thing. There's a ferry that goes from point A to point B that goes to this place that is an upper class destination. Yes, and I mean the band name was a joke initially too. I mean, Bob and I were sitting around doing like funny band names,
right? As one must in this day and age, because finding like a nice like one word band name, nice, is going to be difficult to do. Than maybe it was in the 90s. Yeah,
absolutely. And so we were just doing joke band names. I mean, the origin story of the band is just that Bob and I were doing joke band names. And I was like, oh, I want to band the Martha's Vineyard Ferries. And he's like, oh, I'll play bass. Great. And then a while later, Chris was playing drums for Cahoots on a Cahoots tour.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, Chris should be the drummer in the Martha's Vineyard Ferries. And I like texted Bob or called Bob. I don't remember how it went, but it was like, oh yeah, of course, Chris should be in this band too. And then we just did it.
You didn't call on the phone like Back to the Future style?
Well, I was trying to think. I was like, did I even have a cell phone? Because I was late to the cell phone game.
Right.
And I probably did. But I mean, I definitely remember touring with Cahoots when I didn't have a cell phone. And I'd have to like borrow somebody's phone.
I remember those days very well, and you're not the only one. So it's, well, and I feel like I was in a rare echelon of people that like, it's like, oh, I was familiar with all three people in the band. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I did not expect that. That's cool that is happening.
I think most people are familiar with, or at least people in our the independent rock music world are familiar with two people in the band.
Right.
It is typically how it goes. And I am the one they're less familiar with, certainly. And that's,
yeah.
No, I get it. It's a lot of that. It's like, wow, it's Bob Weston and Chris Brokaw and some guy. And that's actually 100% fine with me.
Right.
People don't want to talk to me after shows. They want to talk to those guys. It's great. So that's, great for me.
So first record, God, I guess it must be over 10 years ago at this point, right? It's got to be like 2010, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2010. I think we probably recorded it 2008 or so. I'm really bad with dates and years. Really bad. So I don't remember exactly when we recorded it, but yeah, it came out in 2010. It was an EP. We recorded it in Bob's living room in Chicago. That was the first time we had ever played together as a band.
Interesting. Okay, so like the recording of the thing was your first time actually being in the room together, like as a.
Yes, I mean the three of us had been in rooms together.
Yeah, as a band. That's why I said as a band, because like not like. Yeah.
I mean, if I think about it, I think there's a Cahoots song that all three of us did play on. Because Chris drummed on a record and Bob played some trumpet on it. So there is at least one Cahoots song. And actually, it's a song that Chris also put on a 7-inch single, but it's just the drums and the reverb from the trumpet and like the reverb from the vocals. Like he came in while we were mixing it, and Bob recorded it, and we were in Chicago, and Chris walked in, and I think Bob was like setting reverb levels, and so the drums are going, and there's like the reverb return of the trumpet, and Chris is like, make me a mix of that. I'm going to put that out. And then he did. It's on a Chris Brokaw 7-inch.
Commitment to the shtick, commitment to the bit. That's good.
It's kind of good though, too. It's like a good song. So we did all play on that, I guess. But no, as the Martha's Vineyard Ferries, the EP was the first thing that we did. And I'm really I listened to it as this record was coming out. I listened to the old ones. And
sure.
I still think the EP is great.
Well, and they're all short and snappy songs. You have I think it's awesome that like one of the songs is called "Play Into Your Strengths." Like that's a great. Yeah. First of all, it's a great song, but it's just a great name for a song, and then also like a life ethos. It's like, oh yeah, play into your strengths. Yeah.
No, I'm really really happy with that record. Like still.
And again, so this is a band that again is geographically disparate. That you're not going to be doing stuff all the time. So then when like, okay, we've written these songs, you recorded them. It sounds like this. Okay. Did it give you like a better idea of how to approach the next thing?
Yeah. I mean, we then ended up playing shows after the EP came out and stuff. Before we recorded the next record and everything. Yeah. I mean, it's funny how that goes though. I mean, it came together, I guess, sort of like, all right, this is what we sound like. We recorded it. We got together. This is it. And so that's what we sound like now.
Right.
And I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool because there are some bands that, can spend way too long thinking about it.
Yeah. Or figuring why or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was just like, we don't really have a shtick or anything. It's just like we do what we do. If that makes sense.
No, well, no. And it seems like it comes out from a very honest place. and everyone's got their lived experience, and it's like, not to put too fine a point on it, but everyone knows how to record, everyone knows how to write a song, how to play a record, play a show.
Right, we've done it before, in other bands, and it's not, the process is not new, certainly, and we have a lot of fun together. I mean, like, I don't think we would do it if we were friends, and I wouldn't imagine we would put this amount of effort into it if we didn't actually also really enjoy hanging out together and playing together. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do, and I would say that my first impression upon seeing you guys play live, I was like, oh, this is a very fun band. Even if I didn't know anything about anybody's like rock and roll pedigree or discography or whatever, like, I was like, oh, this is a fun show. It's fun. Yeah, we try to have fun, and I mean, we take it seriously, obviously, but it's fun. Yeah. Well, and I think there's something to be said for that, and I think a lot of times people confuse seriousness with importance.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it's not that you even aren't serious about what you're doing, but I mean, it's an enjoyable. It's okay to have an enjoyable experience, as it turns out. It's totally okay to, like. I've gone to a lot of shows and I typically enjoy them.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, why shouldn't I enjoy them if I'm also playing them?
Right. Why wouldn't you? Precisely. So then, what kind of stuff did you learn after taking it into being a live band? Did you feel like you already knew ahead of time, okay, this is probably going to play out this way, it's gonna feel like this, it's going to sound like this, or were there any surprises?
I don't think there were really any surprises. I think for me, I've always been in bands where I was not the only guitar player. Mm-hmm. I was in Cahoots, or have been in Cahoots Cahoots was my high school band. So I was a senior in high school when we started that band. Rob was older, but there's two guitar players, and there always has been. So you can suck a lot more when there's another person there. So that was for me a thing where I was like, all right, I have to get better at playing guitar.
Right.
And also, I mean, Chris is a fantastic guitar player, and he's the drummer in the band. And that was really daunting to me, to be like, all right, I'm definitely the second best guitar player in this band, but right. I'm the guy standing up here with a guitar. So it made me work on my guitar playing quite a bit.
Yeah.
Being the only person and knowing that there's a guy in the band who's one of my favorite guitar players.
Yeah. It's I think there's two ways that can go, and it sounds like you took the way that it's taken as a challenge to yourself to kind of like dig a little deeper and find something,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like that. And also, but as far as surprises, no, I think, how are we going to, and I had played with Chris.
You have that shorthand already because he played with you on that Cahoots tour. So how everyone plays, but like there's something different about when you're actually playing with somebody.
Totally. Absolutely. But no, I would say there wasn't a lot. At least for me, there was not. It wasn't like oh shit, like this isn't going to work, and we're playing. It was fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I more mean like. Every band has its own feel. Every band has its presence, like as a unit, and sometimes that can be surprising. Sometimes like, oh, I didn't expect that, or like, oh, that's interesting that hit that way, or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, we seem to yell a lot from the stage sometimes, and that was not a planned thing. It just sort of started happening, and I was like, oh, this is great. I guess we yell now. Yeah.
You do, and it is part of the fun. Like, it is enjoyable, even though it's a bit disorienting. Of like, what's with all the yelling? But like, okay,
we play shows where we haven't yelled too, and
yeah,
that seems maybe wrong at this point. But
people, it's a professional rock and roll band. They're gonna expect the yelling.
No, I mean, but at least for me, we didn't sit down and like plot out how we were going to appear on stage. I mean, we wear uniforms, but or we wear the same shirt, right? It's not
as uniform as like, I don't know, like a bowling team or something, like where it's like loose uniform.
Yeah, I'm wearing my
yeah, I was gonna say you've got it on right.
Our friend Rosemary made us these embroidered. We got a little boat.
Yeah, so you got an embroidered Martha's Vineyard Ferries, and then you got the name on the right side, a la like the I equate it with like gas stations and like things.
Yeah, well, it was like the old Steamship Authority uniforms.
Oh, there. Even,
yeah.
What do you know? It's relevant. Who knew? Okay.
Yeah. So, and so that was a fun thing, like to do. You know, like we'll wear silly shirts, but that's really as far as we got, I think.
Right. Yeah, you're not playing Devo uniforms or anything along those lines at this point. Although
no, but I would. If somebody wants to spring for Devo uniforms, I am 100% down with Devo uniforms.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, from the outside perspective, it didn't seem like that long until you put out the second EP, the what was the one with the rainbow on it? The Masquerade, right?
Masquerade. Yeah. When did that come out? 2013?
Yes, 2013.
Okay.
I was gonna say,
yeah, so
a couple of years later, but I guess it was 3 years later. So okay,
it was not that long, I guess. And that record, we recorded that in Bob's basement, and we did the first one in his living room, and he redid his basement, so there was suddenly room to record a record down there, which was fun. And it went smoothly. It was fun to do, and I think we knew maybe going into it more what we could do with each other, playing wise, how we were going to do it, that kind of thing. But it was more of the same, really.
Yeah, well, yeah. There aren't any ska songs, right? It's like I get it.
No. It's I think we sound like a collection of, like, if you were familiar with what we do, we sound like you would think we do.
Which there's something to be said for that, right? Like, yeah.
No, exactly. It's like, we're not a ska band. We're not,
There's no psych freakouts necessarily, like.
No, it should be.
Yeah.
That's the new thing we're gonna do. I don't think we've ever sat around and talked about like having a sound or what our sound is.
Yeah, so and that's interesting because it kind of seems like everybody like is from bands that have like defined sounds that have like, hey, we've got this figured out. It sounds like this. Like, again, there's not like it's not that it's like the Ramones necessarily, but it's like everybody's got their thing that they're known for, or that they kind of like tend to travel in. But that can be a thing. Sometimes, like you get analysis paralysis, right? Where you're like, well, we could do this. Could we do that? Should we do that? How about this? How about this?
Yeah, I think, certainly with Bob and Chris, Shellac has a very defined sound. You hear 10 seconds of a Shellac song, you know exactly who it is. Certainly Codeine, which, Chris was...
Which I think that band's fantastic, but it's like also...
amazing.
I don't adore Shellac, but like it's just that these are all iconic bands. These are all like bands that like have a defined sound.
This is embarrassing, but I didn't know Chris was the drummer in Codeine till way after I knew Chris.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was a Codeine fan.
Yeah. But they didn't exactly have like their pictures on the cover or anything either. It was kind of like...
I never saw them. I don't think I was aware of them when they were around.
Yeah.
And so I just liked the records. Like, oh, this band is awesome. And then it was like, wait, you were in Codeine? What? And I had that moment of like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I was a big Cum fan, obviously.
Yeah.
Another band that has a sound
very distinct and defined. Sure. Yeah.
And so I think Cahoots probably less so of a truly like defined like Codeine or Shellac. When Rob is singing in Cahoots, he has a very distinct voice. So
yeah.
So immediately that it's him. But so yeah, I think we certainly didn't sit around and go like, well, let's take 20% Shellac and 5% Volcano Suns and mix it in, at all. We just started playing and that's what happened.
No, but like, I suppose you could be in a situation where like, hey, I don't want this to sound anything like Cahoots. I wanted to I'm only going to play single notes. I'm only, like whatever you said.
Sure. No.
Kind of thing, right?
A thing I did do was I purposely wrote the Ferry songs, because Cahoots was certainly more active when the Ferries started. I have purposely written the Ferry songs as Ferry songs. It's not just like I wrote some songs and I'm going to give some to Cahoots and some to the Ferries.
Right.
For me, the songs I've written in the Ferries were written as songs for the Martha's Vineyard Ferries. And I think maybe one of them was just sort of a thing I'd written, but really all of them, that I specifically did. I don't think I set out to write them any differently.
Mm-hmm. But you sat down with that intent. You sat down and be like, okay, it's Ferries time, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only thing I did differently, and tried to improve my guitar playing.
Yeah. And so do you find then, like, are you often surprised by what ends up coming out, or you're like, oh yeah, that's good, and that's what I thought that was going to be?
I am surprised sometimes. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes it's like, oh, this is what I do. But no, absolutely, I'm surprised, which is nice. It's nice to be pleasantly surprised by your own thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You could do a whole lot worse, sure.
Right. I mean, it would probably be really boring if you weren't. So yeah, I would say that some of the stuff I've labored over,
mm-hmm.
some of the guitar parts or the lyrics. I hate writing lyrics, so like some of the stuff I've labored over, and some of the stuff happened very fast,
mm-hmm.
and there's no middle ground for me.
It's kind of like one extreme or the other.
Yes.
Do you find that you've changed ideas, like when those guys have brought their pieces into it, like where I thought it was this and it turns out it was this, or is it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think a nice thing that we all do is, like, I absolutely trust Bob and Chris musically, in general in life, but musically, they know what they're doing, and so if one of them takes something somewhere, I mean, I'm usually totally okay with that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are other times where I'll have an idea and be like, no, this should go like this, but more often than not, it's worse when you do that.
Well, and I guess what I'm leaning to also is, being a band with multiple songwriters as well. Like, if Chris is coming in with something like this, is he have clearly defined ideas on things? Like, how do you approach
some things? Absolutely. There's some of the songs where I am copying what Chris wrote on the guitar as best I can, trying to literally copy what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then other things where it's much more free. With Bob's stuff, because he's a bass player, Bob isn't the kind of bass player who also is a guitar player. Right. So like if he sends something, it's a bass part.
Yeah.
And I would say that, he also might say, oh, you should try playing something like this, and I'll obviously try that. But I think I have more freedom on the Bob songs in some way because they aren't as defined.
They aren't as clearly defined from the get-go. Sure, yeah.
The guitar part is not as clearly defined, I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Well, and it's interesting that it seems like it rides a balance between having everyone's like articulated individual vision, but also having like a uniform band sound, where it's almost like. And to be clear, I mean this is a compliment. It's almost like you're like, oh, who's singing that one?
Yeah, totally. We don't want it to be like, or at least I certainly don't want it to be like, oh, three dudes that, it's so, oh, this is his song, this is his song, this is his song.
Here's the one the drummer sings. Oh, okay.
Exactly. No, I think it's always great when a band that has multiple singers, and maybe which singer is which, but I recently listened to all the Pavement records, which I hadn't done in forever.
Oh, that.
And I always liked the first couple and then didn't like the later ones. And I listened to all of their albums like a couple weeks ago and realized that all the good songs on the later albums were by Spiral Stairs. And I didn't know that because they don't sound necessarily like.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Like.
No, absolutely. And Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Let's put it that way.
but I never like they don't jump out as like this is a different guy. It's the same band.
Like here's
awesome. Like
here's a different person. No, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like a Pavement tune, and it's
a Pavement song. You're like, oh, what is this one? Oh, Spiral Stairs wrote this one. Okay, cool. Like, and that happened to me like 3 times in the later Pavement thing.
I will say, I think they have like there's like at least a song or two on each one of those later records. Like that's a great song. Like I don't know if
there's plenty. I don't mean to say. I think it's also in comparison, to their first 7 stuff. Like, come on, you can't.
It's like a volcano exploding in the early end. And I, they were from the next town over from me, and I was too punk rock, too cool for school to like pay any attention whatsoever. And
no, I didn't give a shit about them either when they were around. I was at a club one time drinking up at the Middle East in Cambridge. My friend was a bartender, and Pavement was playing downstairs. And I'm just at the bar, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go see Pavement?" I'm like, "No." And they would literally, I just had to walk. It was free. I just had to walk downstairs. Like,
I was walking to a different room. Yeah.
And I was like, "Not really. It's nice in here, and I'm drinking a beer." Like, I didn't like Pavement till years after they did.
Oh man, that's.
Oh no, maybe I liked them by the very end, but no, I
definitely had that. Like, I saw him play. I got a friend of mine dragged me on it. And I was like, all right, fine. And I saw him like, Christ, they're pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, they're good. And I think I just was meaning that,
they played so and so's like rec room or whatever. I'm like, could have gone to Alti to see all that stuff, huh? Okay, well.
Right. And that was just the thing where like, there's a main songwriter, but the other guy, they still sound like the same band. It's not.
Yeah, they have a band voice, even though it's indie, which is, I mean, I think that's actually a relatively apropos description for Ferries too. Is it like it all comes across as a band voice, even though you have literally in some cases different voices.
Oh, absolutely, and I like that. I mean, there's something to be said sometimes for a band where that doesn't have that, where you're like
what?
But
what?
Could you imagine if like Mission of Burma had, because they're the same thing. They sound like Mission of Burma, no matter who is singing.
Yes.
But can you imagine if like one of them really wrote different songs and so you're like, oh, Mission of Burma, and then,
yeah. All right.
There are bands that do that. I'm trying to think of a good example right now where like there's a guy that writes songs very differently, and you immediately know it's one of
Sabato.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sabato's a fantastic example of that, where you had like Lou and Jason, and then like, what the hell is Eric Gaffney doing?
Yeah. Here come Eric Gaffney, like flying in from Neptune. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I like those records, so I guess that's.
As do I, but like it definitely. I got a tape off of a friend. Like a taped it off of like a record, and I was like, "What is this? Is this?" I literally stopped him. Like, is this the same band? Is this like a comp tape? Like what? Like I was very confused for a while until it was explained to me.
A friend of mine went and saw them one time in England and said they had just had a big write up, and it was basically like, "Oh, Lou is this amazing, sensitive songwriter, and Jason is this rocker, and then this other asshole is ruining this band." And they came out and just did an entire set, or like the first 9 songs were just like Eric noise freakouts. And it was like a big show. They were in England and they were making it. And he said it was awesome. He said it was like such a great to see that.
Gaffney's right. He lived in the Bay Area for a while. I used to see him all the time at the guitar shop that all the other musicians go to. He had a band for a hot minute. I can't remember what it was, but it was good. It was good, and like it wasn't as like chaotic as some of those like Sabato era Gaffney songs.
Sure.
I was almost like I was like ready when I saw that band, whatever it was called, I can't remember. I was like, strap in. All right, here we go. And I was like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was.
Right.
Like it's almost the point. It wasn't as chaotic and crazy as it was, but I was like, oh no, it's just good songs. Okay, right on. Yeah. He can do that too.
Did you know? Yeah.
Having nothing to do with Sabato or Gaffney. Like I think the idea of that it can go a couple ways, right? And if the band's good enough, like it'll be forgiven, but there's always going to be someone that like I don't like the such and such songs or whatever. If it's immediately defined or whatever.
Sure, exactly. But then if you think of a band like since we're talking 90s indie rock at this point, like Polvo. Who had 2 songwriters, and I don't know who wrote what.
Can't do singing, can't do his playing.
I saw them live a bunch of times. I couldn't tell you.
don't know, you know, like
I have no idea. So like it,
bending, whatever it is. All right.
yeah. So like I always like that thing too, where like it's a band, I don't know who's doing what.
Yeah. Absolutely. So then, okay. So you got the, so let's get back to the band.
Yeah.
You've got, then you get the second EP, and as you mentioned, there's that great, you know, the fucking timeless pop song that's on there. That's like, that's nice, you know?
Yeah.
That just comes out of left field. Like, do you know immediately? You're like, oh, this is. Oh wow, this is cool. Or is it just like, all right, another song, cool, let's go?
No, that was a cool song. It was like, oh, this is a great song, man. Wow, cool. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one that everyone heard. It's like, wow, great song. I mean, you can't not think that.
It's pretty undeniable. And but then also it's interesting because you also have the. I mean, you got the tune that's like the not chanting. What am I thinking of? Like the kind of drony's the wrong word, but you got the like you closed with the one in Chicago the one time.
Oh yeah. What's it called?
I can't. This is fantastic.
It's called One White Swan.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I was gonna say, and that one, you know, like just feel wise, it's like interesting that you could have like a song like that that's real like kind of spacious and moody, and then also have that like sit in the same set with like this like banger pop song too.
Yeah, and that's a good example of a thing like we'll do. Like I wrote that song, and it was like a 2-minute song,
right?
And if that, and Bob was like, let's do this outro.
Well, let's just go
longer than the song, and then Bob was also like, all right, let's do these vocal parts.
Yeah.
So like it was like, okay. To me, it was like this 2-minute song.
Yeah.
And then it's like a 5 or 6 minute song.
Well, it's cool because it's expansive, and first of all, it makes a great album ender, I think. But then also, like as a live number, it kind of brought on a new sort of feel to which was otherwise like, oh, you know, cool, like
sure.
Pop and pop rock, and then like, whoa, okay, here's the Monk song. All right, let's go.
Yeah, it's super fun to play live too. I really like playing that one because it changes the vibe of the room.
Totally.
Like completely in a good way. It's, you know, again, not like we bust out our ska song and change the vibe of the room.
That would change it to a very different vibe. Yes.
It very quickly changes what's going on in the atmosphere of the room. And I like that. Well,
and it occurs to me, like, because even though the songs are longer on that record, that's the only like long song, and by long, it's like I have memories of it feeling like it was like 8 minutes long or something. Like when I saw.
I think we've played it live probably
longer.
Yeah. I think we've done it.
But then I was like, no, actually, 5 and change. That's pretty good. That's like that gets across what needs to get across. But then it also does a thing where even though you've got this like long, expansive like mood piece near the end of it, it kind of makes you want to start the record over too, which is great. And I think most bands either don't or won't pull that off. I think there's too much of a, I don't know. There's just too much of an allure to just, okay, well, we got more songs. Throw those on too. And it's, you know, it's makes you just want to start it over again.
Less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's often the case. And like, you know, as someone, I've listened to a lot of records, you know, in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I often would find that records had like 3 songs too many on them. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And like, I don't even know which 3.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And so
this is a tour game, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But like, if you listen to like, you know, anything from the 50s or you know, 60s before the album became the thing, you know, you'd have these records that are like 13 minutes aside, like Chet Atkins albums. So like, there's a million of them. They're short and they're great. You know what I mean? Like, and I love that, you know, and obviously like double albums have their place and big long things, but I feel like there's often like, you know, you didn't need to put that song on there. Like, the album would have been just as good.
And okay without it. Yeah.
23 minutes is totally good. You can listen to the thing twice.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that's not more popular because like, I feel like everyone is sort of partially or completely riddled with ADD now, just based upon our culture and how everything's like thrown at you. That it's
more popular with me.
Yeah.
But
then there's great, like, hey, Colossus, like that last record they put out is like, 1,000 years long, but it's fantastic. Like it's
I haven't heard it, but
totally badass. It's an awesome record, but it is the exception that proves the rule, right? Where I'm like, all right, well, I'll fuck with that one. That's good.
Sure, no, there's tons of great albums that are super. I mean, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of albums that are too long. That might not even be long albums.
No, and some of them it's like, oh, this isn't long, but it feels long. And what I always say is hey, this is great. When's it going to be over?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I got really into hair metal, and which is for whatever reason, I guess.
I'm so sorry. Yeah,
I can't even explain why. I wasn't into it when
it was happened. A thing to who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, I had never really listened to that stuff. I always thought it was really stupid. And the thing I took away from it is that like all of those hair metal records would be really great EPs. Like Rat could have made 4 killer EPs instead of like one pretty good album and 3 crappy albums.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's
like Dokken. Like I bought some Dokken albums and it was like, man, there's like 5 rippers on this record and then there's like 7 fucking shitty songs.
Bitch, yeah.
Like, and that was like that entire genre should have been maxi singles or something. It would have been great.
the maxi single edit, like the Snyder cut, except for like, just go through and do it with all the hair metal records and like.
Right, they should all be turned into like 4 to 5 song records.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I thought I didn't like this band. This is pretty good. Yeah.
No, and you don't like Rat? This record bangs. Listen to these 4 songs.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the don't have to listen to anything shitty while you're listening to it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
great.
Exactly.
Good win.
Yeah, I guess that's what like Spotify playlists are for.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's
it takes.
That's a different show, and we're not going to get into that. But yeah, I have strong feelings about that as well. Back to you guys though. So you got like a 7 year, like 2013 to, because you basically been sitting on the record for about a year, right? So it's like you tracked it in 2019. Then
no, we tracked the new record in like 20. Again, I'm super bad with years. 2016, I'd like to say.
Okay. Wow. So it was been sitting around for a while then.
2017. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, my son is 4, and he was not born yet when we tracked the record.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's a pretty big wait between records. Was there just like life stuff happening? Was there?
I mean, well, we just didn't quite finish it.
No. It's a good reason not to release it. It's not done yet. All right.
We did all the tracks for it here in my basement, and then went off and were doing other things, and we toured in that time.
Yep.
And then there was like some vocals that had to get done, and a couple of little guitar overdubs, and it just took a long time. Then we had to mix it, and we definitely do spend a lot of time going back and forth with mixes, like, which is great with email mix. And and I think we probably more than a lot of bands, like, oh, what about like half a dB up on this right here, because we can, and so we do that kind of thing. I mean, that sounds a little extreme, but
do you have like files that are like mix final rev 15 final like that, or is it pretty organized?
Well, no, Bob is super organized, so
yeah,
you see that.
But it's funny to say that.
Yeah.
I think that's final multiple times is my favorite type of file.
Oh, totally. And like, honestly, like, it probably sounds like the rough mixes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I probably could have just like put the rough mixes out and it would be the same record. Which is usually the case.
Can you, well, and I want to do a thing while we're talking, where we kind of go through the album, which I do think is great. I think it's really interesting. Sure. Song by song. Before we do that, tell me about the cover, because the cover's got an interesting story behind it. It's an interesting cover, first of all. And of course, I don't think I've actually said the record title aloud yet, but it's Suns Out, Guns Out.
Yep, the Martha's Vineyard Ferries, Suns Out, Guns Out is the new record. It's on Ernest Jennings record company. which is a New York label that we're super psyched to be working with. The cover is Bob and his wife Carrie were in China, and I guess they went into a little store that sold old communist propaganda shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and there was this poster, and they're like, holy shit! So they bought, the photo that's on the cover of the album was this poster they bought, and they didn't know what it was, and they just, it's in their living room. It's awesome. It's such a cool,
stunning image. I mean, it's sort of like,
stunning. and it's from an opera called The Red Detachment of Women, which is one of the 8 Chinese model operas, which were basically the only thing you could watch.
Here's your state television, but it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they were awesome or not. Like I
don't know about the rest of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was 8 of them. There was The Red Detachment of Women. There was Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. There was, I don't remember the other ones, but they were communist propaganda operas, and Mao's wife was very involved with them. So I mean, and I'm not kidding when they were like what you could watch. These things were being performed, and there was movies of them, all over the place. And so that is from a poster for that one, for The Red Detachment of Women. And the video for one of the songs was done by a friend of Bob's, and he found footage of the opera.
The actual opera. Yeah.
And it's so crazy to see. Like, it's really cool looking stuff. And so, I mean,
you just know when you saw it, you're like, oh yeah, that's an album cover, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think we all knew. Like, I think Bob sent me a picture. I don't know if he sent me a picture from China.
Yeah.
But I think he actually probably did. And it was sort of like, wow, this is an amazing image. And it worked really well. Like, it fit in with what the other 2 records had looked like, which we wanted.
Yeah, because looking at them kind of all together, like they haven't, like there's something, even though they're very unique album covers, there is a certain corollary with all of them that I don't know if it's something with the color or how they fit together. Like they all fit very nicely together.
Oh yeah, well we really wanted that to be a thing. Like, absolutely. And it's a great album cover. I'm really really psyched about it.
So let's talk about the songs. Let's talk about and I like the double. Also, the name of the album is good. I think it works on multiple levels, which is the point.
It works on a lot of levels. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk of how do we punctuate it.
Yeah,
just didn't. And it works on a lot of levels. It can be whatever you want, however you want to interpret it, I guess.
Yeah. No, and it's that's a nice thing, especially, which I think is. That's being knowledgeable of like the people that are going to be interested in the music. I think too that like you're allowing everyone to kind of play along rather than
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So first song, it's MC Modern, right?
Yes.
Not Mick. Yeah,
yep.
I assume
MC Modern.
Yeah, MC Modern. Tell me about MC Modern.
It is a song that Bob wrote, and it's kind of an interesting. These stories can be so boring. This one's actually kind of interesting. We did a tour of the West Coast 6 years ago, maybe.
That was when I said I guess at the Hemlock, I think. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris was living in Seattle, so we got together in Seattle to rehearse.
Yeah.
And we rehearsed our set, and then we worked on some new stuff. And Bob's like, "Oh, I have this thing," and it was just like the main bass part, a bass riff of the song, and then the change. And I didn't understand at all what he was going for. Like it didn't, like we played it a few times. I tried to come up with some guitar parts. I was just sort of like, I didn't get it. And I don't think Chris really did either. Maybe a little bit, but I remember we did a few songs, and that was one that we recorded. And after that tour, I got home and I had the recording of our new stuff, and I was like, I don't fucking get this song. Like Bob has this vision that I don't see. And so I borrowed a looper pedal from a friend of mine, like one of those guitar looper pedals. And I played the bass part into the looper. And then I just like sat in my basement for hours with that bass part over and over.
Over and over and over. Yeah.
like trying out things. And then very quickly towards the end of this, like this whole thing came to me like, oh, this is what I should play. This is what I should do. And I immediately, I think recorded it in GarageBand or maybe on my phone. I don't remember. I think on an acoustic guitar. I think I did like the bass part and then did the guitar part and sent it to them like, hey, I think this works.
Yeah.
For a thing for me to do. And it totally did. And then the next time we got together, which was for a couple of shows here in the East Coast, we worked some more on new songs. And that was one of them that very quickly fell into place after. Like Chris had the amazing drum part.
Yeah. It's a banger. That's great.
And it was one that we definitely taped that rehearsal and sort of had to, when we went to actually record it, and we did play it live once, I think, before we recorded it, but had to like reference the rehearsal tape and be like, okay, they rehearsed just the boombox recording or the laptop recording in the basement. It's really cool. How do we recreate that like when we were actually recording?
It kind of explodes at that certain point, right? So like, were you counting it out? Was it like something where you look at each other, or what?
I think we just look at each other. Yeah. I think it's funny because like I said, that song didn't make any sense to me when Bob just had the riff, and then it makes perfect sense to me now. Like it's still a song. Like the guitar part on that is the thing. If I pick up a guitar, if I play for more than 2 minutes, like I play my guitar part for that song. It's like a thing I really enjoy playing. And like in some ways it was like an exercise.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It has that kind of feel where you're like, I'm challenging myself to do. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was doing. And so anyways, that was that. And then, Bob wrote the lyrics, obviously. It's about, I don't want to speak for him, but it's about Belmar, which is a town of the. Oh no, wait. Yeah, that's what it's about. Town of the future, city of the future that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Turned out to not be that great. At least I think. And it's a super fun song to play live. I think it's probably my favorite song on the record.
Good opener too.
It's a really good opener. I think I definitely push for that to be the opener. And then it has the end part, the round of 3 vocals, which was a thing that Bob sent Chris and I from Chicago. Like, okay, here is the vocal part. Like, you guys, here's my part, and here's the 2 other parts. You guys can pick whichever one you want to do.
Right.
And so, like, Bob sent us a recording of the 3.
Here's what it sounds like. Pick your poison.
Yeah, here's parts 1, 2, and 3. I'm doing 1. You guys can choose 2 or 3.
Yeah. Record
them and send it back. So that's how the vocals, which I think it's a super cool part, and that's how the background vocal thing happened, which was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like I said, it's a banging first song.
Yeah. So. Thank you.
And then second song we have Betty Ford James. I guess we'll call it Betty Ford James 1, right?
You just call it Betty Ford James.
Betty Ford James, no period, no,
Yeah, Betty Ford James. That's it's a song Chris wrote. It's such a fun, short, sweet little song.
Yeah.
He actually sent me the lyrics to that way before I heard the music.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's like, hey, I just wrote this song. It's super cool. And here's the lyrics. I was like, oh, okay, great. And I think I sort of bugged him about it, like, hey, is that? And he's like, yeah, no, there's music for it too. And I was like, is there music or is it just lyrics? And he's like, no, there's music. And then I think we FaceTimed or something, and he played it for me eventually. But like, yeah, it's a really fun song.
Yeah, that's a good banger. I think it clocks in like under a minute or something, right?
It's like just under a minute, yeah.
Yeah. And then that goes and then that's got some evocative lines as well. It almost seems like it's a like recovery or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think so.
But then that goes right into jail material immediately after.
Well, the interesting thing about that, I mean, again, I don't know how interesting, but Jail Material I wrote with all of the Betty Ford James, because I wrote Jail Material. I wrote that with all of the Betty Ford James lyrics. You can put the Betty Ford James lyrics completely over the Jail Material, because I had not heard the Betty Ford James music.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was really obsessed with the lyrics, so I just wrote my own music to it.
Nice.
And then when I found out that it had music, I was like, oh shit, I have to like write different lyrics. I like this song.
Right.
Lyrics for it. So the Jail material part, which is in Betty Ford James,
Yeah.
stuck.
Right.
In the song Jail Material. But so I wrote different lyrics for it, obviously. and that's, that's a song I really like. Sort of hard to talk about your own shit, I guess, but like, yeah, it's a fun one to play. It gets very aggressive there in the middle and which I like. I think the lyrics are sort of, could be open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. I wrote them sort of with from the point of view of like a mercenary, like Blackwater type.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
With the sort of my thought with the song, but maybe I don't know the type of people that actually take that job, so I don't really know what they're thinking. But that was what was going through my head, at least when I wrote that.
Nice. So after you is after that kind of a
after you
melancholic maybe.
Yeah, that's a song that we recorded. That has of all the songs, that has the biggest change, sort of like late in the game, if that makes sense. Like that song had different lyrics.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And when you have a recording, like if we had just put the record out, 3.5 up for any time from when we recorded it till like 3.5 or 4 years after, it would have had a completely different lyrics to that song. And I never liked the lyrics. And every time I heard them, I'm like, this song kind of sucks. and it was the only song in the record I felt that way about. Really the only song in the band I felt that way about.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I'd listen to it and go like, man, I could have done better. And sort of late in the game, Chris wrote the main body of the lyrics that are on the record, a song called After You. And that was another one. I think he called me and was like, shortly after he moved back to Cambridge, was like, hey, I just wrote this song. And it had music and stuff, and he played it for him. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. We got to record that. He's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to record it. I was like, okay. And so I bugged him. I'm like, hey, man, remember those lyrics for that song After You? I want to put them over this other song. And he's like, great. So I sang that, and then I had to write the second half of it, which I did very quickly. I think I sat down and wrote the second half of it in like 10 minutes. And I was much, once it had the different lyrics, I was very happy because I like the music. I like what we did.
It like saved the song for you.
Absolutely. It was like, we weren't going to cut it, but it would have been one of those like, oh, we should have left that off the album for me personally. Like those guys liked it and they were both like, no, the lyrics are fine. I'm like, no, they're really like, I don't like them. And so I was glad that there was this sort of last minute lyrics that Chris had written. And it was fun to collaborate like that, to sing someone else's stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess I've done a little bit in cahoots, but not much ever. So like, the first half of that song, I didn't write the lyrics, but I'm singing them. And that was really kind of fun. I'd like to do more of that.
Do you think that, do you think that's something that you might potentially look at in the future to like sort of challenge yourself with a little bit, if you do enjoy it, as far as like, I'm going to try to write to your voice, or, I'm going to.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm down for that kind of thing. I mean, it can be difficult, but it was fun doing that, where it was like, I didn't write these lyrics and then I'm singing them and have to sing them with conviction. Do you know
Right, right. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta own it.
Yeah, like, all right, I have to own this, and I didn't write it. So that's not something I'd ever done before. So that was fun to try to do. And I think the vocals, I think I just like literally went and did one take, maybe two takes. I mean, it was very quick.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's that one.
The Daily Biscuit.
Oh, that's a fun song. That's a Bob song. That one I think happened pretty quickly. Like Bob had the bass part, and then we just sort of jammed on it. Is my memory, and it's a fun song. Unlike I think most of our other stuff, but
yeah.
And it's I think it's a great song. Like I really like that one a lot. I think Bob's singing on that is really good. I like the guitar. Chris played some guitar on that. That was just all in all. That's just like that song makes me happy, like to hear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely do. Yeah, and I get it. Chalk it up to Island Time. So,
Oh yeah, that's it's a Chris jam. I like all the songs in this record. I don't mean to like keep saying, oh, I like that one, but it's maybe the only time in my life where I really legitimately can say that about like.
It's great. Yeah.
Like I like all these songs still, and it's been like a while since we recorded them, and like I still like them.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Chalk It Up to Island Time. It's super fun to play live. It's just a fun song. You'd have to ask Chris what it's about. There is a lyric sheet actually with the new record, which is cool.
Oh, I actually, I wish I would have known that. I could have brought my copy down. I didn't think of.
It's the first one we've done with a lyric sheet, so that's.
I was actually gonna ask about that earlier, and I totally forgot about it. But I did not know that. That could have come in handy. Oh well, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why that made me think of it, but tell me about greens fees.
About what?
Greens fees.
Greens fees.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is that just a Bob thing? I thought that was a Ferries thing. Like greens fees. Like when you
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. Like being in a band.
Yeah.
It's like because we have to travel a lot. Obviously, there's flights involved with us getting together, so we typically lose money. And it's greens fees. If we were dudes who play golf, we would pay greens fees to go do it.
Right.
So I mean, obviously we have no problem with getting paid for shows or for records or anything, but we understand exactly where this is, and we're middle-aged, playing in this band. Yeah, we used to say that a lot. Yeah, greens fees. Well, it's just greens fees, and like I have no idea. I assume golf is pretty expensive.
I don't know. I know
people actually
played it a lot, and I know that I know people that love it, and
I'm sure it's great.
I don't have strong feelings about it, but I don't know how much it costs. I mean, I think it depends on. Well, okay, I'm that's not entirely true. I know that like playing on a municipal course versus like playing at a country club or something like.
Oh, sure. It must be anything from cheap to insanely expensive.
Exactly. Basically, if you like that game and you want to play, there are sustainable and not super expensive ways to play it. But most of the associations with like the grand courses or like the major courses or whatever, it gets expensive.
Yeah, I played golf once in my life, and it was clearly on a place you could just show up, and it was like $15.
Yeah, exactly.
Some guys that played, that like to go out on the weekend and play golf. But at a place, we showed up and it was not expensive.
Yeah. So it's sort of like I guess a metaphor for life to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'd say we're probably on the lower end of the greens fees scale in the fair.
I like the term, and I think it adequately and eloquently described something that people don't usually mythologize, and I thought that was pretty funny. Like I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, with so many bands, there are obviously bands that make their living as bands. There are bands that make part of their living, or bands that make none of their living. There's every permutation of that And I don't begrudge anyone for doing any of those versions. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, I would rather lose a few bucks and play an awesome show somewhere.
Yeah.
Than either not play that show and just not lose a few bucks.
Yeah.
Or play some lame ass show for a few bucks. You know, I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? There's just.
It does. And yeah, I think that's, you know, different. I like you said, like people get different things out of bands, and people sometimes are in bands for different reasons. But it seems like you guys have your thing very clearly defined, and you have a sense of humor about it too, which I think is nice.
Absolutely, and we know we're not gonna, you know, have a hit record or anything. You know, we are 100% know where we stand. You know.
Yeah.
That like
there's
we're
kinds of vulgarity in your big pop hit, so you know.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, we're not buying yachts on the royalties from.
Yeah, not so much. So that was Chocolate Valentine. Oh, the Know-It-All, the next one up.
Oh yeah, is that the order? Yeah, I guess it is. The Know-It-All is.
I don't have the record down here, so I'm good.
No. I probably have one here somewhere, but no, that is. The Know-It-All is a great song, and another. I like all these songs. Fuck.
You sound so shocked about that, but
I kind of am. I got to be honest. Like, I have a lot of. I often have a lot of self-doubt. Do you know what I mean? And can be very critical of myself. Maybe too much so, and definitely can be like, oh yeah, why'd we do that? And I don't with any of these, so that's really nice. And the Know-It-All is just a really good song. That was another one that, you know, Bob had written, and then I sort of struggled with what to do on the guitar on that. And so I did this sort of same thing as on MC Modern, where I wrote this part that was like this really intricate part, and it was borderline a part I couldn't play. I had to like actually practice it like an hour a night for a while. And Bob and Chris were both like, that sucks. Like right the first time I played it, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I wrote this whole part. And they're like, that's terrible. And I was like, no. And they was like, no. Like both of them. And it was not even.
Oh, no sold, huh?
It was just, yeah, completely like, and it was like, and I get it. It probably was a shitty part, but like, I still know the part and would like to use it somewhere else, because it was a very difficult part for me to play and for me to like figure out. So then that going into recording it, I knew what I was going to do. And then I had to not do that because they were both like, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
And so, and I didn't, you know, if I had felt really strongly, I could have asserted myself more, but I didn't. So on that one, I sort of had to quickly like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think we all sat around, you know, well, maybe try this or try this, and then came up with the part I play. And so it's a fun song, and it doesn't have my bitchin' guitar part in it.
Apparently, it does not have that part you were shamed out of doing. So you know,
well, it was pretty atonal. I mean,
okay.
It made sense to me, I think. And it was like, I'm probably glad that we didn't do it, because I like I really enjoy what I do now. You know, I think it sounds great the way it is now. So
yeah. Well, and then you got, you know, whatever, you can use that for something else, and maybe
I'm gonna bring that like every time to the table, and just until it finally gets in.
Just watch them be like, oh, that again.
That fuck. No, but it was like both of them right away were like, what are you doing? oh shit, all right.
Not necessarily the reaction maybe you expected when you came up with it. Of like, oh.
No, but I do get it too, because it was a strange part.
Right. Yeah, well, and it's fine. Yeah, good parts don't make it. Right. So
yeah, no, you have to, like, in a band, you have to have some humility, you know, especially like you come up with something and right away all the other band members are like, no. You know, if you trust your other band members, like, okay,
maybe. Okay, move on.
All right, we'll move on. And I think we could all do that to each other and it would be fine.
Nice. Louse.
Oh, Louse. That's a Chris song. I think he wrote that like the day we recorded it, or the day, he wrote that while we were recording. I mean, I think he went into my bedroom. I remember, and he came out an hour later with a song. It was
banged it out.
Yeah. And it was, I ended up redoing my guitar part on it several years later.
Oh, interesting.
Which we didn't do a lot. I know that the record took a long time, but most of it is all from the original sessions, without doing a lot of crazy stuff later on. That one, I didn't really wrap my head around how to play that song. It's a bunch of weird Chris chords that were confusing. And I don't know how else to describe it. It made sense to him.
That seriously is just a funny sentence. So sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, and so we recorded it, and it was a thing where I had to really, really focus on what I was doing in a way that I was not psyched about. And I think Chris doubled the guitar part, and then we played it every night on a tour for a few weeks. And at the third or fourth night, I got the song.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense for me to play how to play it.
Right.
It didn't even change how I was playing it. It just suddenly didn't become.
I'm doing trigonometry here. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't become this fucking ordeal of shit. What's next? And so once I did that, I think I re-recorded it fairly soon after I got home. I was like, oh, I listened to it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really stiff. I'm gonna redo it. And it just, you can't tell. I used the same rig or whatever, same guitar. And I was just much happier with it once I knew how to play it, as opposed to recording it where I didn't really understand it.
There is some kind of ineffable thing that happens with some songs when it's a song that's been, played on the road or road test or just played live at general. Sure. Versus this is the second or third time that I've done it. We're just got and it's not that it can't be good. Don't get me wrong, but there is a slightly different feel that can come from
that can be good or bad. I mean, when Cahoots records, we often, very often, will learn a song and record it, and that's what goes on the record. And I really mean how's it go? Goes like this. Okay, we play it once or twice, record it, and that's the release. And this one was a song, Chris wrote it, he showed it to me, and it was 7 chords I've never played in my life in weird positions. And it was okay. And, so
you're sitting
I had to write it out, write out a little cheat sheet. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? He's like, yeah, go to the A. And I'm like, this is not really an A, Yeah. And it is. But so once I understood it, it was much more fun. And I decided to redo the part just because it made sense to me now.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't? I mean, why not? Makes sense for this, right?
Yeah, and it's another one. I think probably that I didn't really like that song until I understood how to play it, and then it became super fun to play. Yeah. It's a song I love, but I think it was definitely the one on the record where I was like, I don't know about this song,
right?
And that was all because of my own failing at playing it, not because of the song itself.
Yeah.
And once I wrapped my head around it, I was like, oh, this song's awesome.
And it was Ida Says.
Oh, Ida Says. That is my daughter is named Ida, and it's not really a song that's about her, except for the last line. It was written when she was she's 6. She turned 7 on Friday, and it was written when she was, I don't know, 1 or 2. She really didn't have a lot of words. She said cat a lot. Ida says cat. And the rest of the lyrics are not about her at all. And that's a good song. I like it. I was trying to do the guitar part, and you never would guess this, but I was listening to a lot of Joseph Spence, who is a Bahamian guitar player who I've sort of been obsessed with my whole life. And I listened to him a lot when I was a teenager, and then whenever I sort of re-listened to his records when I wrote that song, and he has this feel like his time is unique.
Okay.
It's like his own world. Like he's playing guitar. I mean, he's out of tune, which I like, but he's, I can't describe it, but his timing is not normal. And I was trying to, with what I was playing on guitar, like the da-na-na-na-na-na, trying to emulate
time or like what he does.
Yeah, emulate him. I mean, it sounds absolutely nothing like him. Like you would never in a million years, if you listen to Joseph Spence, you would think I'm insane for saying that. But I was listening to a lot of Joseph Spence.
Sure.
And
it's your version of that thing, of like his.
Yeah, or it's what I was listening to, and I obviously can't copy it. I don't know how to do that. I'm not good enough. You know, I can't sound anything like him, but there's a thing he does that I like. And I was sort of trying to do that and, you know, got it wrong. And then
Your own Steffens.
Yeah, and so it's a cool song. I like it. I don't know what else, you know.
No, that's fine. That's interesting. I'm not familiar, but I'll definitely check. I'll check out.
I mean, he's my dad was a fan. My dad actually saw him live a couple times, which is crazy because he only played like in America, you know, twice or something.
Wasn't a big touring act.
No, he was not anything. And just a really cool guitar player. I like him.
So then we have the second Betty Ford James.
Yep.
Any particular reason why you're going to put the same song on twice? Was it thematic?
We thought it was funny.
I mean, it is pretty funny.
It was funny. Like, it's a short song, and it's the same exact song. It's not like a different take or anything.
Yeah. That's commitment to the bit right there. That's
not a different mix. It's the same song. And I think on iTunes we had to actually they didn't let us do it.
Oh, really? Because they have to have a unique song name.
So one of them has a period at the end of it. Before James, period. No, it's the same song. We thought it would be funny. It was like one of those jokes that we just stuck with. You know,
Yeah.
It would be funny if we put that on there twice. And then it was like, we should put that on there twice. And then we, you know, asked a few people like, hey, has anyone heard of a band that's, and like, oh, well, it didn't, like, you know, there are records where like Voodoo Child Slight Return, you know.
Yeah. Something is slightly different about it, or it's like a different version, or like the tempo's different, or like whatever, or something. Yeah.
Revolution number 9, Revolution number, you know, whatever. And it was like, no, this is just the same exact song. And
congratulations.
it's really good, and it's only 56 seconds long, and you kind of want to hear it again when it's over. So then
Sure.
if you just wait a while, you get to hear it again. And if you don't like it, like it's so short that whatever.
It's, if you don't like it, it's over soon enough. Don't worry.
We just thought it was funny, and I still think it's funny, so that's good.
It is funny that iTunes or whoever wouldn't let you get away with. You had to call it something slightly different. That is kind of funny.
Yeah, we got an email from Pete at Ernest Jennings, like, hey guys,
We literally can't post this a
and
second
I
time.
think it's just iTunes. I think like other services,
They're all okay with it, but iTunes like,
I think
nope.
so. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know, but yeah, it had to have a slightly different. So one's got a period.
That's hilarious. So then that brings us to the last song in the record, "Washing the Water."
Yeah, that is a song that is more like a Cahoots song. I wrote it specifically for the Ferries, but like that sounds like something I would write for Cahoots. Is a song that is about my friend Dave, who is Rob from the other guitar player and singer in Cahoots' brother, died a few years back.
Ooh.
And that was sort of my song about him. Him and his brother. And you know, it was a shitty time for sure. And I think I was sort of trying to just process it a little bit and wrote a song about it.
It's cool. I mean, that's a nice.
Yeah, it's a really cool song.
Honorarium.
Yeah, it's a cool song, and it was definitely like, you know, Dave was a huge influence on me musically. Yeah, massive influence. You know, he was probably 6 or 7 years older than me, and you know, I played in a band with his younger brother, and he was in cool bands. He was 25, and he was in fucking cool bands, and he wrote cool songs, and he could play a bunch of instruments, and he gave me the time of day.
Yeah.
Like when I was 18.
Right, when he didn't have to, yeah.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I was in a band with his brother, but like, no, super great guy. And like, my first introduction to like being around people that made, you know, I knew people in bands in high school, and I was in bands, and I grew up around a lot of musicians. My parents were friends with musicians and stuff. But Rob and Dave's, they had a band called the Inskirts, Dave and Rob from Cahoots and this guy Brian. And it was my first time like being around people like, holy shit, you guys like do this.
Right.
Like you guys write songs and record tapes. It's fucking awesome. I love this. And so he was just a huge influence on me as far as that kind of thing goes. And
just for the idea of being able to do it, like kind of like that sort of like, oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah, like you're a guy who plays in a band, and it's not like you're a guy playing in a blues cover band, or you're not like playing dance songs or whatever. Like you're just like writing original songs and you're playing at parties or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is rad. This is a thing that, like, it's what I was doing as well, but it was like, holy shit, these guys are doing a good job of it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's that kind of inspiration. I absolutely do. Absolutely.
I'd go see his bands. There was a band here called Caustic Deathbed that he was the bass player in as well. Huge influence on me. Like holy fuck, these guys are so loud and they're so good, and so that was just sort of a tribute song to him and his brother, who's a dear friend of mine.
Well, it's very nice. I think it's a great record, man. It's everyone checks it out if you haven't already. Martha's Vineyard Ferries Bandcamp is, I think, just Martha's Vineyard Ferries.bandcamp.com. Folks can get it there. All the normal places that you can get records. Anywhere else people ought to be going?
No, I mean it is almost sold out at the vinyl at Bandcamp. I think there's
4 remaining according to the website right now.
Is that what it says? Oh wow, yeah. Okay. Well, you better get on that.
Yeah. You get that reversal bump. You're gonna sell all 4 copies, buddy.
Woo! I am told that it is. I believe it is getting repressed. There's going to be a second.
Yeah, congratulations! That's awesome.
Thanks. No, super psyched. I think it is. That is actually in the works, but I think that takes at this point, like 4 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's gonna be a comeback on when the world is very different. Kind of situation.
So there are copies available from some distributors, I think still. I have some copies here, not many, but like I would imagine if Ernest Jennings runs out on Bandcamp, like I've got 10 copies upstairs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we can get you a copy if you really want.
We can talk.
Yeah, but also like independent record stores might have it or still be able to order some. And if not, there will be a second pressing.
Well, it's a banger record, man. I dig it.
Thanks.
And it's not like I haven't dug. It's not like I dug the other stuff, but I think it's it's a first of all, it's a full length, so there's more of it, but there's no song that I would drop, from that earlier shtick that we were doing.
No, that's the thing. It's like I was talking to Bob about that, like how, because we've lived with it for a long time. I mean, it had different orders and slightly different overdubs and shit, like, but we've all lived with it for a long time, and we all still like it.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Which is crazy, So that's really cool. And yeah, check it out. Hopefully we were talking about touring maybe in February, which is a good ways from now. next winter. Hopefully things will be moving.
One can hope. One can hope.
That's our hope. So watch out for it. We'll be there.
Last question.
Sure.
Thanks for being on the show, man. It's great to have you. Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Because I was bad at sports.
Pragmatic answer. Okay.
I don't know. The best answer I could give to that is my friend Charlie Esposito, dear friend. He was the keyboard player in Cahoots for a long time. He's been in bands since the 60s, literally.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little older than us. Always in cool original bands. He's like literally 70 years old now, and he still records music and does cool shit. And the answer was sort of like, I do what I do because it's what I do. And I know that makes very little sense.
Very zen. I like it though.
Yeah, but that was the only answer I've ever heard to that question. That I was like, yeah, that's why I do it too. I don't know. It's just what I do. You got to do something, I guess.
Well, I'm glad for it. Thanks so much.
Man. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been great. Thanks so much.
Until next time.
Yeah, talk to you later.
There he goes. All right, let's hear a tune.
Benny Ford James is going to great pains for his recovery. He used to change all the locks and return to the cops like he couldn't speak English. Loose change James waits for the bus in the rain outside of Hollywood. With his arm in a sling and thinking about the things he did back in New York. Jet lag James feels like he's going insane out in the real world. He says, I know if I fail this time I'm going back to jail, and I'm not jail material. I'm not jail material. I'm not jail material. On the back of the plane, shut my eyes and kept real still. When we were young, this was fun. Now I'm a man with a gun, and you better speak English. We touched down, got on my knees, kissed the ground. Outside, it felt so free. With a mask on my face, nervous as I fidget with my keys. Oh.
Jail Material by Martha's Vineyard Ferries. And before that, we had the song that originally had the same lyrics as that song.
Is this thing on?
And it is also on there twice. Betty Ford James. Those are all Martha's Vineyard Ferries songs off of the record Sun's Out, Guns Out. Available now. marthasvineyardferries.bandcamp.com. Go get it, poppers. Go get it. If you haven't already. If you want physical, well, might already be too late. Wait for the repress.
Is this thing on?
Ah, there we go. My shoes there. Martha's Vineyard Ferries.
Can you hear me now?
This has been another episode of Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. The show airs on Radio Nope, usually Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central,
Come to the close of our broadcast.
6 Mountain, 5 Pacific.
This is my farewell transmission.
RadioNope.com is where that happens. ProtonicReversal.com for the archives.
Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea,
Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding.
anyone within the sound of my voice.
If you like the show and you want episodes sooner, Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. $1 a month will get you there.
50,000 watts of power.
Thanks for everyone sharing the show around, sharing episodes they liked, telling people something to listen to.
Ionize the air.
I can't stand the culture of like and subscribe, but it's how people find out about the bloody thing. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening.
This microphone turns sound into electricity.
Coming up next, Eugene Robinson of Oxbow.
Can you hear me now?
Stay safe out there.
Out on Route 128,
take it
dark
easy.
and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio